Hi, it's Bernie Gilbach, and it's the 27th of April, 2014. I am making a short video about the Sunday Times in Ireland. I should be out planting things, or at least going to someone that purports to be a greengrocer, because we need to be doing that, weeding and sowing. I'm showing you the ultimate spring dishes, though. It's inside the Sunday Times magazine, an insert to the Sunday Times in Ireland. Ways of doing radishes, wild garlic, artichokes, broad beans, stuff I grew up with. Don't get enough of this in Ireland. They're available, but the diet that I've been exposed to is more chips and chicken. We need this fresh veg. And if you like this kind of stuff, maybe you ought to be looking at wholesomeireland.ie. Wholesome.ie. Wholesome Ireland on many good social networks. Okay, over to the Sunday Times, top right, David Moyes. A story that merited its own 4-page pullout. Really interesting dynamic behind the scenes. As a publicly traded company, it was only a matter of time before the lack of global domination finally hit home, affected the market. Actually, some really good personalities are being profiled here. And if you want to see how difficult it is to maintain top flight status, well, good worth reading. My take of it, David Moyes is a hard-working Scot, had his head down, maybe didn't hear the noises outside. Sunday Times, top right-hand column, talks about Labour fighting to scrap a €50 standing charge for water. Sarah McInerney wrote that piece. It's important to know that the Irish, everyone living in Ireland is going to be paying for water. We expect something between €240 and €300 a year to hit us, but in actuality, if you take away the state subvention, it's more like €500 a year. The National Concert Hall was split over how to raise money, and that's important because, God, they threw away millions trying to get consultation there. You might have noticed that there was a double canonization today of 2 popes. There are Visa Scam College running around, and Mark Tighe's got that story about how many of the staff lost their jobs because of it. The college closed down. Basically, they were working it out so that a guard in the Midlands was validating students who didn't live there to have jobs. And I like to look forward to this. Sarah McInerney again writes on the front page, walking through the Irish Parliament as you run around in Ireland. Now, before I turn the page, you guys got to know that I can't do these things, these Sunday newspaper reviews, because I got a daughter that's taken away. She's taking my stuff, my sellotape and markers and things like that. But anyway, I'm doing this because of you, Weaver Bot, and you, Tony Cross, and a few other people who say, where's your videos? Okay, here it is. Justine McCarthy's given us this story. Don't let the rising house prices hide the rise in homelessness. Really heartfelt, pointing out that what's happened since the big crash in Ireland, everything's been turned upside down since the economy crashed, she says. You got pension schemes that have run dry, shops that have disappeared, public services have been withdrawn, streets and homes have been drained, bereavement grant abolished. And yet, and she's right about this, the powerfully rich are still powerfully rich. You know, bad national housing policy has families that can't afford mortgages that are turfed out of their house, reduced to sleeping in cars, couples splitting up in order to avail of homeless services, bad attitude by the government. She's right about that, the way it's happened. Roy Quinn, the Minister for Education, listened to people heckling him on a megaphone, but Sarah McInerney, writing a lot in the Sunday Times, has a really balanced piece, full page of it, in the focus section of the Irish Times. I won't go through it because I think most people listening to me actually have heard the give and take on Irish radio. This is important to me. I'm in the TUI because it's a good social more than anything else, but that Teachers Union of Ireland is saying, listen, we're going to protect the members' terms and conditions. I'm not going to make you guys work year-round. That's going to have to change. Maybe a call when you have your holiday. I wouldn't mind having holidays around American Thanksgiving and working for part of the summer. I said that here. The FOSS staff is wrapped because, well, in the paper, Mark Tighe says that lots of people in the old Irish training agency called FOSS refused to give a guy that has great integrity, that would be Gavin Sheridan, information he requested. Gavin founded the story.ie website. He asked for stuff from the internal message board. it showed a spiteful attitude reflecting a culture of secrecy that does not reflect the organization. And basically the story goes on about, well, how Foss had to give up some of the information that they were requested to. Gavin's blog on Twitter, worth following, knows FOI, Freedom of Information. I bought this book. I bought the book written by Thomas Piketty, 52-year-old professor of the Paris School of Economics. It's called Capital in the 21st Century, a muscle-straining tome, 685 pages, published last month. Harvard University Press is already getting up to the second printing. It's easily going to become the most successful seller in the 101-year history of the press, Harvard University Press. Amazing, isn't it? Yeah. A guy that deserves that kind of press I'll deal with later, Konstantin Gertler, but he wrote a really good piece this week. Tethered together in their fairy tomb, writes Flora Bagenal and Joseph Kim in Korea, about this Seawolf, the ship, the ferry that sank, trapping hundreds of teenagers aboard. This is what's coming out. It's coming out that the port authorities seem to have allowed the ship to sail with more than 3 times its cargo limit, which would account for the way it capsized. I mean, with a partially loaded ferry with passengers, that shouldn't have done that. Hey, who's cooking up spices of life? That would be Niall Harbison. He gets a full page from Linda, half a page from Linda Daly. He says, motivation, excitement, not money. That's what motivates him. He's got the book, Get Shit Done. That's out on June 26th. I bought it. Niall says that pre-order gave him 10 cents. Good on you. Should help him pay for the water charges in Ranelagh. He bought the house there in Ranelagh after selling Simply Zesty in 2012. As he says, and I agree, Ranelagh, a great place to live, a great buzz around with lots of cafes and restaurants. Liam Daly, Oli, on Twitter, has an art studio there. I visit him occasionally there. And here's this full page thing. Well, 3/4 of the page. Konstantin Gertler writes, I'm going to probably make it a separate blog post. The article is called State Strategy at Risk of Locking Out the Jobless. Yes, official unemployment counts say that about 253,000 people are out of job, but if you factor in the number of people that are on programs that the Irish government has, like education programs or things called Job Bridge, it's more like 330,000 people. And then if you crank in a bunch of other metrics, the actual Irish joblessness standard percentage is around 32%. And then he delves into this because it's a long-term problem. How do you get people that have been out of jobs for 15, 20 years working again? OECD says long-term unemployed, young people out of work and out of education, as well as those with low skills and older workers, they're at risk of becoming perpetually unemployed. And that, that happens everywhere, even if the government targets under the current strategies are met, which is true. They're saying, hey, listen, we'll get 100,000 new jobs by 2016, but that won't include the people that are out of work, really. What's he say? Well, he thinks Job Bridge, like a lot of people, is stupid. But unpaid graduate apprenticeship is what it is. It shouldn't be what it is. He says, let's make something which is a paid apprentice's job, the state focusing on developing a modern apprenticeship program that can replace the ineffective schemes. I would agree with that, which would mean dumping the computing community employment program, the CEP, which is actually just it's a social program, more than anything else. People that will never get a job are given a little stipend to clean up stuff around the place. Okay, look, things around my workplace. That would be Dora. She's getting a hair treatment. This morning, the 6-year-old brought these 2 phones out of hibernation. I pointed out that on this one Sony Ericsson, she wanted to know what a W meant. So it's Walkman. Her brother likes the buttons. You can probably see it. Mia used to bite this phone, and that's how she damaged it, so it wouldn't work anymore. So we went backwards one edition to this other Sony Ericsson that Ruth used for about 6 months. Can't remember how far back that was. 2008 when that was. So when the iPhone was new, we had this really cool Sony Ericsson phone, and it worked really well. Took good pictures, played good music. Mia's also taking her hairbrush to the little dog. And she's learning how to use these art pencils. You can see work that she's done online. Wundering, WNDRING.org is where some of her work is going to appear, along with hopefully hundreds of other people answering questions about wondering in Ireland or wondering where they work. Okay, that's it. From here to you. I'm Bernie Goldbach, the Blown American and County Chip, sitting in my kitchen, saying bye for now. Thanks for listening. Catch up with me, Top Gold, on all good social networks. Bye for now.